geriatric social. Okay. So again, my name is Sarah, and I'm a geriatric social worker. I live here in Tel Aviv. I don't know where you are all stationed at this moment. And I'd like to welcome you to our caregiving community here in Israel. And for the next, I think 2 or 3 days, we have a program of PowerPoint programs that I'd like to do. And hopefully you'll participate and share your experiences, thoughts, fears, anxieties, whatever, so that together. This is kind of a unique opportunity for you, for us, for all of us to have this kind of in-between time. You know, you left everything behind at home, family, friends, work, culture, life, and here you are. Haven't started your new one yet. So it's an in-between time. And it's opportunity to reflect on things, to concentrate on things, to kind of absorb new ideas and maybe focus on, you know, what will be in the future and make friends. Actually, this is a kind of an opportunity to make new friends, people that you would never have come in contact with, perhaps in another situation. And it's always good to have opportunities to make friends, especially in this kind of an situation where everybody's alone, everybody's far away from home, and everybody has exciting things in the future and maybe scary things happening as well. So first of all, I commend you for coming to Israel, kind of a scary place from the media, perhaps. All kinds of issues, politics, this, that, middle of Corona, all kinds of scary things out there, and you're all brave for doing this big thing in your life, and I'm sure it's going to be a very, very positive experience, a growing experience for everyone. And hopefully in our program here in the next couple of days, we can in some way assist you in preparing for it all. So I welcome you. Margareta, do you have something else you want to talk about before we begin?
No, we had the meeting yesterday morning for all the introduction thing that I wanted to share, so that's fine.
Okay.
You can go on. Please.
Okay. A PowerPoint presentation that I'd like to talk about with you. And of course, we're going to have an intermission, and you can, whatever is on your mind that you'd like to share, not just with us here, Margareta, Anat, and me, but also amongst yourselves. It's always good to learn from friends and from colleagues. So I'm going to share the screen.
Meanwhile, you're sharing the screen, maybe something technical.
Okay.
Sarah will go and we'll touch a few topics and issues now, and you are more than welcome to write down comments, thoughts, questions that you have related to that, and then we will also pause and we'll respond and we'll hear and we will read what you like to share. So please don't hesitate to do that. And also we'll ask you some questions at some point, so we'll also appreciate your answers and sharing your thoughts on that. Yeah, that would be technical edition.
Okay, thank you, Margareta. I have the host disabled participants from sharing.
Sorry, I will open now. Sorry. My bad.
Okay.
I will open for you. Sorry. Now you can do.
Okay. So we're going to do this. Okay, so I think everyone can see this screen. Hopefully everyone has enough English to be able to understand me and to also perhaps follow on the screen the things that I'll be speaking about. So our topic for today is culture and values in the relationship with the elderly patient. And we'll talk about basic values in caregiving work. I think, we all know that basic values are all cultures and in all languages and in all places in the world. But even so, we want to talk about them because they're part of our personal caregivers. And basically, our personality is one of our main features in our toolbox as professional caregivers. And so there is a place to speak about them and to be very mindful of them. So what are the basic values in caregiving work? Human dignity, autonomy, tolerance, empathy, compassion, and care. I think they're very obvious, but even so, I'd like to take the time to talk about a little bit because, they're all they're all values that we adhere to, but different in different cultures. And I assume that this is everyone's first time here in Israel, different country, different culture. Everyone here is Jewish. I'm assuming that none of you are. I don't know if any of you have had any contact with Jewish people in your past life or know anything about that. Here in Israel, Middle East, and Jewish people, all kinds of different things together. And basically, you're all coming into a very special month here in Israel. It's a month of holidays, one after the other. And you're coming right into that with a lot of, intensity of every week. There's another holiday, and each holiday is at least 2, sometimes 3 days, sometimes a week. So there's a lot. I'm not going to talk about the specifics of the holiday, but it's just that kind of an atmosphere that is, very cultural related. So what these values mean, what do these values mean in caregiving work? Well, let's talk about that a little bit. So there's human dignity, value that reflects a person's unique traits as a person. Dignity is the right of a person to be valued and respected for their own sake and to be treated ethically. Respect your patient's humanity, privacy, thoughts, feelings, opinions, beliefs, and of course, respect his body. Maintain your patient's privacy and dignity. So I want to talk a little bit about dignity and of course, privacy. And in terms of culture, you're coming into a person's life, you're coming into his home, into his safe place, into his, the place that he feels is his, the place where he feels, in charge. And someone else is coming in there and you're not really a guest and you're not really a family member. And perhaps they've had other people coming into the home, perhaps cleaning, perhaps giving some kind of other care services, but not really as living in. And you're going to be sharing a space, assuming you'll have some of your own privacy, a private space, a room, a bed, a closet, and so on. But you must understand that there's still a feeling of being, invaded in some way, right, into a person's privacy. So it's very important to be minded of that, and especially in the beginning. So I think that it's very important not to assume anything, to ask, to understand, and to also project to the people in front of you. Don't always like to call them patients. I like to think of them as clients, and not just one person, but perhaps the whole family is involved in being your employer in that respect. And so it's very important to be minded about, what things are private. Everything you touch is private to them. So not to move and not to move things, and to, also ask what they would be expecting you, especially if you're coming in during holidays, what to do and what not to do. Every family has a different way of celebrating. Perhaps you know that in your own culture, every family has a different way of treating the kitchen, treating food, and you being a stranger to the customs of the house and in general. They may ask you not to do certain things in the kitchen, not to touch until they absolutely trust you to know what it is that they need and how they need it to be done. So it's very important in the beginning to understand that it's nothing personal against you, but it's just that kind of a situation, okay? That it takes that added courtesy and sensitivity in order to adjust and to understand. And they may not even understand that they need to verbalize everything because it's so new and different to you, okay? So you must always ask. Thoughts, feelings, and opinions. You know, I'm assuming that most of your clients have not come in contact with people from the Philippines before. They have not come in contact perhaps with Christians in their home before, perhaps and perhaps not. So this whole interaction of having someone so strange in their home is probably very, very stressful for them as well. I'm assuming that they've been waiting for someone to come in and be part of the caregiving team in their family. Perhaps, some of the family members are tired and need to go back to a different kind of a lifestyle in order to allow other people to assist in taking care of the parent or spouse or brother or whatever the situation is. But sometimes when you agree that you want to have someone come in and live with you, doesn't necessarily mean that you know how you're going to feel once that happens. And so it's all a very new situation, not only to you, but also to the client and family. Let's talk a little bit about autonomy. Autonomy is the capacity to make an informed, uncoerced decision, self-directing freedom, and especially moral independence. Give your patient the right to choose what he prefers to do, where he wants to go, and allow him to make his own decisions. I think the basic idea here is, to help someone and to be as independent as he is possibly capable of. And this, of course, is a process to understand and to learn what he is capable of and what he is not. And if his decision making is not, is not appropriate, and even sometimes it may seem kind of weird to you and inappropriate, but if it's not, putting him or anyone else in danger of anything, then perhaps it's still his freedom to choose how and when and what to do. I think the general idea is to be mindful of, the elder person's pace in life. Perhaps the way they eat and what they like to eat and how they like it to be prepared and so on is something that you have to be very mindful of, and especially the pace. And, perhaps they're morning people, perhaps they're evening people, perhaps they're moody. It's all very important to try to learn the minute details of a person's, personality and lifestyle, and not to try to change it and not to be overbearing in that sense, but to kind of go with the flow, as they say, okay? And that makes a very easier, smoother way to be able to assist a person in a real way. Tolerance. Toleration is the allowing and permitting or acceptance of an action, idea, or object or person which one can sometimes dislike or disagree with. Be tolerant to your patient and give yourselves time to get to know each other, even if you don't agree with him, and sometimes always respect him. So I think this is very important because many differences between you and your client and your patient and the family that you're going to be living with and working with. And they may have some prejudices against Philippine people, young people, Christian people. Everybody has, preconceived ideas, and sometimes they're positive, sometimes they're negative. Perhaps they've heard, and they have expectations. But it's very important not to be offended and not to take things personally, to be able to, to listen, to hear what people are saying, and to respond professionally. Yes, sometimes people may not like them. I've worked with people that I didn't like, but it's part of the job, and this is our professional abilities to to be able to put that aside and take the time sometimes, to relieve our own tensions. We'll talk about that later. But it is very important to be able to compartmentalize and put our feelings in our personal feelings in one place and our professional behavior in another place. Empathy. Empathy is the capacity to understand and feel what another person is experiencing from within his frame of reference. That is the capacity to place oneself in another position. Definition of empathy encompasses a broad range of emotional states, try to empathize your patient's physical and emotional condition. I think, sometimes this is very difficult being young and hopefully healthy and coming from a different culture and so on. But you must understand that Israel is a young country, so not everyone obviously, but most people have come from somewhere else and they were immigrants at one time and had to adjust and had to learn a language, and many, many languages are spoken in the country. And so to try to put yourself in, in a different person's position is difficult, but you can try to understand a person's frustration, a person's losses, that comes with this time in life and being so disabled and so on. And also with the person's physical pain and perhaps, the emotions they may feel. But that you can do only after you get to know the person and you know his stories and you know who his family is and was, and who are the people that were important to him and what were his achievements in life and what were his disappointments. And so it's important to take the time to do all of that and, through talking and listening and so on and sharing. Compassion, sympathetic pity, concern for the suffering or misfortune of others. Compassion motivates people to go out of their way to help physical, mental, or emotional pains of another and themselves. I assume that by choosing the profession, you have a great amount of compassion as part of your personality, as part of the people that you already are. This type of work is not really for everyone. And I assume that all of you have had some kind of experience, whether it's, professional or perhaps in a family situation where you've, given care to someone for any period of time. And so I think you're all probably well aware of the compassion that's necessary in this type of work. And like I said, it's not for everyone. I've always felt it was my calling that we need to do in my life, to be, a caregiver for others. And I always thought it was, it was my privilege to be able to do that, because not everyone can. And so I assume that you can all empathize with that kind of of being compassionate. It's not something that you learn. I think either you have it or you don't. So that's care. The provision of what is necessary for the health, welfare, maintenance, protection of someone and something. And that is our profession, to take care of people and to make their life worthwhile. And it doesn't mean that we're going to make them happy. Doesn't mean that we're going to make them, we're going to make a difference in their life. We're going to make them feel that they're worthwhile, that their life is worthwhile, and that yes, we're here for them. So what, in your opinion, is the most important value in caregiving work? And are there any values you believe that are more important or less important in caregiving work? And I invite you to share, to either write or to verbalize. And we can take a very short break, maybe 5 minutes. And I'd like everyone to kind of think about that. And perhaps you have a story that you'd like to share with us about, the caregiving experiences that you've had before. Is there anyone in this group, before we go on a short break, that would like to share with us where, if they have had experience living abroad in a caregiving situation? A show of hands would be nice. Are there people that have had experience abroad before? Anyone want to wave a hand? Okay, this is all a new experience for everyone.
No, I know there are a few.
There are a few. Okay.
Yeah, that is why I'm surprised that nobody's waving.
I don't see waving, so I can't tell. But there are a few.
Too shy, but yes, they are.
Guys, we won't ask you
It's
each one of you
Janet.
just
Just to say yes or no.
Hindi ko siya maano eh. Nakaano siya, stop video.
They can't hear clearly. That's why they are not responding.
Thank you, Evelyn. Okay, you're helping us a lot. Okay, they can't hear.
The
Okay.
connections is very weak. That's why they can't hear you clearly.
Oh,
But we
that's
have,
unfortunate.
but we have a member who is working from, I think, Saudi as a caregiver. Miss Janet
Okay.
is an OFW, has worked as a caregiver for many years.
Okay.
Miss Janet.
Okay. So
Yes, ma'am.
there are
Yes, ma'am.
people.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Okay, good.
And
So
Janet,
this
so you
isn't.
had also experience abroad?
Yes, I have experience in Dubai, UAE for 3 years as caregiver, and in Abu Dhabi, 2 years, and Jeddah, Saudi Arabia for 10 years as
Oh
caregiver.
my. Oh wow. So you're
You
a
can teach
very
us all.
experienced. Yes, you have a lot of experience.
Yes, I
Wonderful.
had.
Okay, so you know, you're welcome to teach us, as Margareta said. Yes. Okay, and of course, you're helping us by translating and helping your fellow um, caregivers here in this kind of weird situation. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
wonderful. Okay, so thank you very much, and let's take a 5-minute break, and please share comments, chat, or or feel free to talk about it. Values.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Ask any questions? Okay. Anyone like to ask a question or share with us something about their thoughts, feelings?
An important value of caregiving work. Yeah.
Okay, not at this point.
No, not written answers, not spoken answers.
Okay, maybe a little later. Our next subject that we'd like to discuss would be gender aspect in caregiving work. And obviously we all have one gender or another. And today maybe sometimes it's not exactly as it was defined in the past. And you must know that in Israel, we have a very tolerant community about people that have gender issues or non-specific genders and so on. And I would assume that our clients are a little bit more, as we say, what would be a good word? Conservative. Yes. Younger people are generally more open-minded, and I would assume that older people are a little bit more conservative. But in general, there is a big tolerance in Israel for all kinds of gender issues, as you will see as time goes by. And of course, the issue for us as caregivers is, how our gender and how our presence.
What is?
Yes? Your question? Someone wants to ask?
Janet, was it by mistake or someone has a question who was watching the meeting with you? Maybe not. Maybe it was a mistake. Oh, in case you have a question and you try to say it with open microphone, you can also write on the chat and we'll read it later.
Okay. You're free to anyone wants, but I think that most of the microphones are muted, so you have to, kind of unmute yourself if you want to speak. Okay, but how does it come into our life as caregivers? The gender issue is what I'd like to talk about a little bit. And basically, when we come into a family or into a person's home, but not necessarily wife or brother, sister, son, daughter, and so on, other family members at work. And so it's very important that, we also are mindful of our sexuality and how it affects our clients, because it is out there. And I think that it's very important that we are mindful of everything that we do and how we behave and who we are and how that affects the clients and the people around us. And so let's see what are the main issues that are involved here. Although most of the caregivers are women, there are also many men who are caregivers, especially when a man needs to be cared for. Some of the female caregivers provide care for men or live at home where a man may live. And some of the male caregivers provide care for a woman or live in a home where a woman lives. Okay, and how does gender contribute to the caregiving relationship? Although women usually take care of children, adults, parents, spouses, and other family members, they're also has these abilities. Women naturally have the ability to care for others with empathy, compassion, concern, and love. But men can also have good caregiving abilities, as some men like to take care of their family or work in the care field. Your caregiving qualities are an asset. Be proud of them and use your caregiving abilities to provide good work and quality care. Okay, that's one of the main things that are generally obvious. But basically, what I want to talk about is how our sexuality may affect our client in ways that may not be so positive. Sometimes, of course, when you touch someone in the caregiving situation, if you're bathing, if you're dressing, if you're cleaning, if you're, whatever it is that you're doing in a in a personal way with your client, it may arouse some feelings, perhaps sexual feelings, perhaps misunderstanding. When you touch someone in a gentle way, when you speak and touch someone in a gentle way, they may misunderstand, that your gestures are only there in order to make them more comfortable, clean, and healthy, and so on. And also, it may arouse negative feelings in the spouse or in the person himself, perhaps feeling jealous, perhaps feeling angry that someone is taking their position, someone is being a better cook, a better cleaner, a better, duties that a husband or a wife may have had, providing better, taking care, cleaning, whatever it is that you're doing. So you have to be aware of, your young vitality and sexuality and how that affects, not by anything that you're doing wrong, but just by being there, and how it may also have some negative effects on the people in your surroundings. Yes, it may be your direct client, or perhaps his spouse, or perhaps a son or a daughter. And it's very important to confront situations that are not appropriate, that you think are being misunderstood or not appropriate, and to put limits. And this is the general reason to talk about it, is to understand a situation. And it's your responsibility also to manage the situation by putting limits, by saying, okay, you misunderstood, I'm gentle and I'm kind, and this is my job, but only this is my job, nothing else. Yes, no romance involved, no romance intended, and so on and so forth. And so a person understands the limits that are being, applied. When treating a man or being close to a patient's spouse, sexual harassment may occur, and it's important to be aware of that. Here are a few tips on how to deal with sexual harassment. Sometimes, like I said, being kind and gentle may be misunderstood, and a person may want to even take advantage of it. And I think that it's also very important to be able to understand a situation right away, not let it linger, because sometimes when you don't respond, then the person may think that you are cooperating and that you are interested as well. And, you may be shocked, you may be surprised, you may be offended, you may be, intimidated, surprised, all of those things. If you don't respond, it may be interpreted as wanting to participate. So it is important to respond properly. This is a YouTube reference that you can watch in your own time. And perhaps there are tips on how to respond properly, okay? So do you have any about being a man or a woman or caregiver? Do you think caregiving work is easier for men or for women, and why? And do you think that caregiving care will be harder or easier because you're a man or a woman? And again, I invite you to voice your opinions or your past experiences, to share, if you've had a situation like this in the past, how you dealt with it, or any other subject that we've discussed so far that, that you would like to ask a question about or share.
Sure na. Hindi ka nakamute. Nakamute ka. Naririnig natin kasi nandito lang.
Ikaw na muna.
Yan ang mga hindi nakano. Nabubulong na sila.
Margarita, are there texts that people wrote or anyone?
Yes,
So baka ma-rapper ako.
ma'am, I'm Janet.
Okay, hi, Janet.
Yes, ma'am. I have been experienced before as a caregiver in Saudi Arabia. As a caregiver, you have a patience, compassion, attentiveness, dependability, and trustworthiness. As a caregiver, you have to give a tender love and care to your patient and to provide their needs, home care to others need to the patient. Then, and compassion, when someone has compassion for another, they have an understanding of what the person is going through.
Okay, that's thank you for sharing. And yeah, that is big values, absolutely, to have compassion. And I agree completely. Can't argue with any of those things. And thank you for sharing that you've had experience in a different country. And how was it, without knowing the language for you? How was that experience?
Before in Saudi, my first abroad in Middle East and Abu Dhabi, I don't know how to speak Arabic, but I need to learn how to speak because my patient, they don't know how to speak English. That's why in 3 months only, I am fluent to speak Arabic.
Wow, that's wonderful. You have a real talent for languages. 3 months. Arabic is not an easy language. And do you know any
Yes.
Hebrew? Do you know any Hebrew?
In Hebrew, basic only, ma'am.
Basic. Wow.
I
Just
would
basic.
assume that you would say that you're already fluent since you're so talented.
But in
with language.
Hebrew, they have like have pareho.
Similarity.
Same similarity in Arabic, right?
Yes,
They
many
have
words
some,
sound similar. You're right.
some words.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Okay.
same family of languages, the same languages.
The Semitic
Yeah.
languages. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So you have a base for adding more knowledge. Wow, you are a real adventurer. Saudi Arabia, now Israel. Okay. And you're very
It's my
confident.
pleasure. Yes, it's my pleasure to come here in your nice place in Holy Land
Ah, okay.
to
So a
share
very,
my knowledge for caring somebody, some patients.
okay.
We're
Yes.
very impressed.
Very impressed. I
I'm
feel
sure,
privileged. Wow. Anyone else would like to share about their past experience in working in a country with a different language, how that was?
Sherilyn, ikaw na. Sherilyn, you speak up.
Yeah,
Yes.
you're speaking to us or to each other.
Because we don't understand Philippines.
Yeah, we don't speak Tagalog yet.
Alam mo na yung ano, nanlalamig ako. Go.
Che,
Yes, ma'am. Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
yes, go ahead. We hear you.
Sherlyn. I'm Sherlyn Mata, facility in charge in nursing home in Philippines. I have handled 5 homes in the Philippines, which is international ISO accredited. And I have a lot of experience handle like dementia, Alzheimer's, stroke patient, PEG patient, tracheostomy, colonostomy. But the most important when you are a caregiver is dignity, passion, love, and care. Understand with those patients who are Alzheimer because they don't know sometimes what happened in their daily activities. So you understand, and before you are what going to do in patient, the residents, you have to tell or explain them what's going on or what's your going to do. For example, like medication, 10 rights of medication, the most important to give the right medication, the residents or patient. Understand them, the feeling, the residents. And as a caregiver, you have to give a fashion, love the patient, understand, and most, if they're feeling lonely or to feel.
Wow. Thank you very much for sharing here with, here for us and with us. Wow, that's wonderful. And I see you know exactly, how to approach these difficult situations. And, you mentioned the word lonely. Yes, I think this is a very important issue, especially with people that, from what you were telling us, you work mostly in institutions and in caregiving facilities. And this situation, an individual in a home, I assume this is most of the placements in this situation. The last 2 years with the corona has taken a very big toll on the disabled community in terms of depression, how to deal with members. Yes, wow, I see that you have a whole toolbox that is very, very, very good. Okay, anyone, any questions on the chat?
I just want to share my opinion regarding this discussion.
Please do, Christine.
Yeah. So basically, I just want to answer this like, in my opinion, I don't have any concern about being a woman and a man because we are living in a modern day nowadays. So, women and men have a different roles, and basically they can both work with the same job nowadays. And I don't think if you have a compassion, I mean, if you have a passion in this kind line of work, it will be easier for you to take care of a patient regardless of what gender and sex preferences you are. Yep.
Thank you. You're absolutely right. And yes, this is a kind of community here in Israel that's how we approach things in a general. I just want to say something about being hard or being easy or being strong or being, gentle and small and not very muscular in terms of, caring for disabled people. It does take a lot of strength, sometimes physical strength. And I want you all to know that in Israel, we have a very good health system and that you will be part of as well. And that if you have experience and knowledge, you know that there are all kinds of apparatuses that can assist in making your life as a caregiver easier and better for your client or patient, whatever appliances that you're familiar with, or you can check on the internet. All of those things are readily available in Israel for your patients and clients. Sometimes the families may not even know that they need it, but you as the caregiver have the responsibility to find, things that are necessary to make their life easier and your work, easier. And so just wanted to put that out there so that you know that all of those things are available very often for free or for very little money through the healthcare system. Okay, thank you, Christine, for sharing that. Okay. Is there anyone else?
There is a
Okay.
written comment on Zoom that we received also on chat. Some qualities that caregivers should display are patience, loyalty, and reliability. A thorough answer should display patience with the situation, loyalty to the patient, and overall responsibility to be reliable. But it should also include steps you would take to resolve the issue.
The issue, yes. Okay. I think the main idea is to be responsible for the situation, okay? That it's not, not just responding, but taking responsibility for managing a situation. Yes. Not this way, then you go back and try another sharing, okay? So an intercultural encounter. Okay, intercultural differences are difference in traditions, food, norms, beliefs, values, which vary between nations, people, ethnic groups, speakers of different languages. Every culture has its own way of expressing itself. Every culture has its own way of defining conflict, passing messages, resolving conflict, and talking about it. Every culture has its own way to express emotions, either to talk about them or not to talk about them. Here is the time that I want to talk a little bit about how we are here in Israel. I think that in general, you will find that Israelis are very direct, they're very loud, they're very boisterous, they speak with a lot of passion, they use their, their body, their hands, a lot of gestures, a lot of, body is involved in discussions and so on, a lot of passion in talking. And I think that it'll take time or aggression. It's just, a style of discussion. I'd like everyone to look at what I'm doing with my hand. This is the gesture that means, please wait, patience, savlanut, as we say, kind of cup your fingers together and you wave them up and down. Let's all do that, savlanut. Okay. We can all do that. Okay. There are other hand gestures that I won't talk about now. Okay. And of course, smiling stands a smile. Everybody understands that very, very well. And most people, I think, in Israel, especially the younger ones, do understand English. But like I said, it is your responsibility to learn Hebrew. And if this is the first time you've encountered a Semitic language, it sounds a little strange and different. But hopefully you will learn the main words that would be important for you to communicate. And I think the most important part that I want to talk about is the fact that it's very important to discuss things, okay? Misunderstandings and conflicts, usually voice what you understand and to ask if you don't understand again and again. So how to adjust to a new culture? Be patient, give yourself time. It's important to keep your culture and customs and traditions if you want to, and if it's important for you to learn about a new culture that you're in. Here are a few tips on this video that you can watch through YouTube. There are dietary laws in the Jewish tradition, and you're coming into a holiday situation. And I want you not to take things personally and not to be insulted. If you're asked not to some families, not for everyone, but that is not familiar with dietary laws or their traditions or whatever, to be in their space. I also want to talk about the holiday as a stressful situation in general for everyone. So I'm saying understand that as well. Holidays are stressful. Everybody is, where they're going to be, who's coming, who's not coming, how they're going to celebrate, memories of, how it used to be when I was younger and I can't do this anymore, and who used to be at my table and who won't be. Holidays are family time. Holidays are very, very stressful for everyone, not just for disabled elderly people, but for everyone. Money is involved, buying, shopping, preparing, all of those things, very stressful. So you have to be very sensitive to the situation and not take things personally. Okay. Have you heard something about Israel and their culture and our culture? What have you heard? Do you have any concerns about adjusting to the Israeli culture? Do you have any questions about Israeli culture? Please ask. Perhaps we can somehow negotiate it, make it a little easier. If you have any concerns, questions? Anyone?
Hi, I'd like to ask some
Please
questions.
do.
Do you have any culture or specific culture that applies to every Israeli?
I'm not sure I understood. Can you say that again?
Okay, do you have a specific culture or tradition that applies to every people here in Israel?
No, we're all different.
Okay, thank you.
All
Okay, ma'am.
different. Most people, I would say, I don't know, there are Arabs, Christians, all different kinds of religions in Israel, but the holidays now are the Jewish holidays. I'm assuming, I don't know, that most of you will be placed in families that are of the Jewish faith. And everyone, does the holidays very differently. I have to tell you, it's a spectrum of, what people have as their tradition. Sometimes they're, you know, what their grandmothers did in Europe. Sometimes it's things they take out of a cookbook. Sometimes, you know, it's very
Yes.
different.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Only thing to do is to ask,
Yes,
because
ma'am.
there are things that they would like you not to do and things they would like you to definitely do. And so you just have to ask, and you'll make mistakes, and that's okay too. That's how people learn. That's how we all are. We learn.
Yes, yes.
Anyone
Thank you,
else
ma'am.
like to ask or write us something on chat?
Oh, ma'am. Hello.
Hi, hi.
Hi. With regards about the culture, um, we are aware of we already aware of it, and from while we are in the Philippines, we already do some research about the culture, and we are a little by little we are accepting what the culture in Israel is. So one place we will just ask uh, what should not do and what do's and don'ts on their house. So we are aware of it.
Good. Wonderful. I'm glad that you took the time to, you know, to check and to be prepared a little bit, as much as can be prepared,
Yeah.
you know, for an unknown situation. Very good. You should also know that there is no public transportation during the holidays, you know, and it starts usually the evening before and at which holiday. And but basically things are closed, so everyone has to prepare, have be readily available. Stores are closed and the question
No,
time.
over there, if I understood correctly.
You want to add something,
Well, I would
Margareta?
just say that mine and yours when we're being asked by a few groups, few flights who came before you guys. So some of you asked us, you know, how we should, what we should do, what we're expected to do on Shabbat, on different holidays and occasion, and some background online. But you should ask in a specific place, in a specific person, how do they do things at their home, at their kitchen, and what they expect you to do. Because some families, if we're talking about religious families, would ask you assist and actually turn on and turn off the lights, and some families actually would ask you to not do that, not do that in the same space that you are. Maybe in your room it's okay, but you know, in the rest of the house. So it really, you know, depends on the specific family, on the specific person, and you basically need to find out, you know, there, right on the spot to ask, and to also maybe share that, you know, you want to learn to do things the best way, and sometimes also to be aware that, you know, whenever we live, it's very natural for us to do things the way we like them to do and to be, and we not always remember to teach a new person in our house, you know, or to even comment things that we're doing, because again, it's natural for us. So we not always remember that, you know, someone else can not know how we like things or how we do things. So you can also, you know, not only to us, but also maybe explain to say, you know, I want to learn, I want to do things, but I want to assist in the best possible way. So yeah, that would be my addition.
Okay. Shabbat and holidays. Okay. Margareta, I'd like to share the other.
Yeah, you can do that. No problem.
Okay.
Savlanut, somebody wrote us, meanwhile, Savlanut is the number one, and pray.
And
Pray.
I didn't hear what you said.
Pray.
Oh, to pray. Okay. Yep. I'd like to share the screen again. Is it shared?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yes, shared now.
Okay. So, most important thing is building and developing a relationship with our clients or patients. As we walk through the procedure is to build a relationship, and I think and all of those things that that are here on the screen, creating a good communication, creating the caregiving alliance, taking into account social and cultural, and that's the to understand that in good communication there are about them briefly. So every person has a unique to act and exchange information with others. There are 4 basic communication styles that are usually talked about: passive, aggressive, passive-aggressive communication style, and why individuals style has been found to be the most effective than other styles. When we break down these 4 styles, we'll be better understand the characteristics and what makes them unique. So we'll talk a little bit about the different. I think that we can also, perhaps identify ourselves with our clients and the people around us. The passive communicators often display a lack of eye contact, poor body communicators also act in a way that states communicators are also easy to get along with as they follow others and go with the flow. But I would like to say that usually they are frustrated. I want to say that in some cultures, being a passive communicator might be, regarded as being, respectful, and it could be misunderstood and taken advantage of. Kind of a behavior in yourself that you try to respond perhaps otherwise. And if you to express themselves more. So the aggressive behavior type, aggressive communication style is emphasized by speaking in a loud, demanding voice, maintaining intense eye contact, and dominating or controlling others by blaming, intimidating, criticizing. Obviously, this is not a very pleasant way to communicate, and people that communicate in this way usually do so frustrated as well. And so it's always difficult to manage people that behave, play apps on YouTube, different new recordings that you can refer to. If you write, on YouTube that you're dealing with aggression, you can have very helpful ideas. The passive-aggressive communication style users appear passive on the surface, but within he or she may feel powerless or stuck, built up of resentment in indirect or secret ways. Most passive-aggressive communicators will mutter to themselves rather than control a person or an issue. They have difficulty in acknowledging their anger, use facial, and even deny that there is a problem. So again, if you identify this type of behavior in your client or in your patient, you must be minded to it and to try to have or whatever thoughts they're trying to hide in order to be able to communicate with them and to deal with this kind of behavior. Usually it's very difficult. And the assertive behavior. Assertive communicators can express their own needs, desires, ideas, feelings, also considering needs of others. One of the keys to assertive communication when you are late for a meeting, or I don't think having to explain this over and over again, it indicates ownerships of feelings and behaviors without blaming the other person. This is very important to adapt into your or our way of communication, to be direct, not blaming, not judging, but expressing what it is that we feel, what we need, and what we hear. And if we don't understand, of course, to express that as well. So if we want to think a little bit more about what are the characteristics of each one of these types of behaviors, the passive type is emotionally dishonest, indirect, inhibited, self-denying, blaming, and apologetic. The passive-aggressive is emotionally dishonest, indirect, self-denying at first, self-enhancing at the expense of others later. And the aggressive one is inappropriately honest and direct, expressive, attacking, blaming, controlling, self-enhancing at the expense of others. And the green one, the one that we try to accomplish in ourselves and to encourage others to, is to be assertive, to appropriately be honest, direct, self-enhancing, expressive, self-confident, empathetic to the emotions of all involved. So tools for effective communication, understanding how others communicate can be a key to getting your message across to them in order to develop tips to keep in mind. Take ownership, use the I statements, maintain eye contact if you confidently, and don't forget to smile. It always makes things easier. Is there anyone that would like to comment or ask or respond to the way we communicate? Smile. Yes, let's all smile. absolutely important every day. And I want to share with you the fact that smiling is not just, for the other person, it's for us. When we smile, our brain, exerts all kinds of endorphins and makes us feel better. So if you're kind of tense, angry, and whatever, take a pencil, put it in your teeth and smile. And just those muscles already change the composition of your brain chemistry, and slowly you will feel the difference. I highly recommend it. Very good for dissolving stress. So take a deep breath and smile when you exhale. Anyone like to share some thoughts or feelings about what I talked about so far in different types of behavior patterns that we may encounter in our clients? Perhaps we can identify some of that with ourselves, but as a culture, Israelis are aggressive. They talk loudly. So don't misinterpret that for being, being anything else. It's just a way of discussing things impolitely and not listening to others. Anyone want to respond? So here again is a YouTube presentation that you're welcome to go to anytime. And it may have some tips on how to deal with aggressive behavior, aggressive language, some important tips. I don't remember your name. I think it was Christine that you mentioned. You have a lot of experience with dementia patients. Very often when people are not themselves, perhaps they're in pain, they're frustrated, they may exhibit, aggressive behavior. And also, of course, if they're suffering some sort of dementia at any stage, this is sometimes associated with aggression. And so there's lots of tips on the YouTube under any of those names if you haven't had the experience of using that before. Last thing we want to talk about is nonverbal communication. Along with 4 communication styles, there's also nonverbal communication. That's the key. That's the star of all communication styles. I think we all know that. So nonverbal communication is any way in which people can transfer information between them about the use of words from the spoken, written, or sign language. Nonverbal communication is expressed in facial expressions, body language, collapsed hands indicate closure, tone of voice, physical gestures, standing, and touching, of course. So all of our senses are very much attuned to communication, smell, touch, hearing, and we can all try to be aware of that and minded on how that affects not only ourselves, but also how that affects and allows us to not to necessarily manipulate, but to control the situation and a person's well-being. And so all of those communications are very important to be minded of and to use them because they're part of the very important tools that we have in our caregiving toolbox. Tools for effective communication, active listening, find out what your patient's opinions, thoughts, actions, try to not to make any assumptions and not to make any judgments, reflection in order to make sure you understand what your patient meant, try to reflect that you understand what he said and it is saying by asking, do I understand? Yes, I do understand. Did I understand what you meant? I also recommend repeating, what a person has said in his own words. That gives him the feeling that he has been heard and gives an affirmation to what he has said. And of course, empathy, what we talked about before. Try to empathize with your patient, even if you don't agree with them. The I message, when you talk about your opinion, use the I word. There is no absolute truth in this kind of a feeling situation. What you feel is your right, what they feel is their right, and so on. So tools for effective communication, the key, smiling and patience and tolerance. And of course, what we talked about, nonverbal communication. Be very patient with your patient and his family. this situation is new to them too, and it takes time to get to know each other. Tolerance, even if you don't agree with your patient, try to respect his opinion. It's okay to disagree and to make conversation about it. Nonverbal communication, while talking to a patient, maintain eye contact, try to speak at eye level, not above him. Relax your speech and a calm tone of speech. I want to say one more thing about eye level. Very important to be with eye level with people that are infirm, that are, disabled, not to stand on top and to talk to them when you're dressing them, when you're feeding them, when you're having some kind of a conversation, to take a chair and to sit at their eye level. Very important for communication. Our subject is good communication building. And so this is the main one that helps to perform trust, not to stand on top of them, not to stand behind them, but at eye level, and smile and talk calmly and be patient, as we said before. So I think this will conclude our talk for today. And again, I invite you, what is your communication style? What is your opinion? The best communication style, what you think is best? What do you do with your patient if the communication style is difficult to handle? Which concern do you have about your patient? And remember, you can always improve by learning how to communicate better, even without language, even without language. Find out what kind of music the person likes, find out what kind of smells he likes, where he likes to be, outside, inside, likes to go out, likes to walk. Whatever he likes is what will make him feel better, and how you will be improving your communication with him. Anyone like to share something, thoughts, questions about what we spoke about today?
I will say something. It's
Please
not,
do,
I
Margarita.
will share my feelings. I feel that we gave you a lot of information today to process, and it's hard to respond immediately to everything that we are sharing and asking. So I want to just suggest, if it's okay with you guys, that maybe you will take a look again, maybe at least at the second part of the meeting, and also for the question, and maybe we'll start our next meeting with you sharing, online meeting, of course, sharing with us about your communication style, and what you think is best communication style, basically to respond to those final answers, final questions that we shared now, because I feel I would be overwhelmed at on your, if I were you. So just but we will do like you to think about that. And yeah, because again, of course, it's only because it might someone to help you when you are already, there in the field, and taking care of the person, and the person is challenging you with you something either aggressive to your to the way you feel, or the opposite, passive. So, and yeah, and I think what you can do is say, oh, actually we spoke about it recently, so hopefully again, only just a thought, and thought process might help you just to be a little bit more ready to some of the challenges. Yeah, and then we'll start the next meeting with maybe some discussion before we'll dive into additional things that we would like to share with you. Sarah, what do you think?
Okay, sounds good to me. So when are we going to be online again?
So first of all, we have Shabbat before we'll meet next time, and even before that, we will share with you another couple records. This time not Israeli background, but more about your rights and your obligation as caregiver. Some maybe technical information, but related to your employer, into your employment. Again, all the things related to visas, and maybe some limitations to that, and a lot of very practical information. So you can also watch it and rewatch it, because, as I said, it's recorded. And then we want to share with you something in the group during tomorrow. But then Sunday morning we'll share with you a few more records, and then we will meet with you online and second half of the day, if I'm not mistaken, around 5 p.m. I will double check, and we'll also write down, so for you not to guess and to know when we exactly expect you to see. And yeah, as I suggested, maybe we will start before we go to the next topic, just to hear from you something about your communication style and things that you want that you prefer, or other things that you might also resonate with you when you will rewatch this meeting, because yeah, it's important for you also to just stop a little bit and take your time and process, and then to get back to us on that. I see actually another comment. I saw it before, but I didn't want to interrupt her because it wasn't related. There was a question, but I'm not sure I understand 100%. So if you can maybe just to make it more concrete, I have a question, ma'am. This month is a new year day. I'm just asking. Thanks. If it's the question, if the new year will be soon, so the answer is yes, already next week. On Monday evening it will start, and probably we'll share with you some information, not in the group. We'll send you some links. In previous groups we were asked a little bit about kashrut, the laws for cooking in the kitchen, and also about what was about Shabbat. So we'll share it with you as well, and also find some information about coming holidays, and one of them is the Rosh Hashanah, which goes for New Year. Yeah, so I think I mentioned it for you yesterday. Mentioned it to you that you won't be able to probably to end your quarantine on time. You have a few extended days because your quarantine is supposed to be over after 7 days on Wednesday, but Wednesday will be still Rosh Hashanah, so we'll probably able to finish your quarantine on Thursday or even Friday, because again, you need to go through another PCR test, and then when you receive the result, you will be able to leave the facility of quarantine. So yeah, but you have extra day to rest and charge your batteries. So yeah, that's our plans for upcoming future.
It's a special time. It's in between time. It's a present to reflect.
Yeah, I would go for a retreat like this for 7 to 10 days easily.
Yes, everyone here, I'm sure, is hardworking, and just to lay low and relax and charge batteries.
Thank you.
No
Okay,
problem.
everyone. We say in Hebrew, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat
Shalom.
Shabbat
See
Shalom.
you all on
Thank you very
Sunday.
much.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Bye-bye.
Shalom.
Shabbat
Shalom.
Shalom.
Bye.